The first message came as a whisper across the void, then exploded into a symphony of fire and ruin. The Scar Dominion had grown bold, drunk on centuries of unchallenged conquest. They boasted across the galaxies that humanity was confined to a single blue world, a fragile cradle of culture and commerce. A colony at the edge of Scar space, newly established on the mineral-rich planet of Valera 9, had been deemed insignificant. Yet significance, in their eyes, was measured only in compliance. The human settlers, scientists, engineers, farmers, families, were no threat, or so the invaders believed. The Scar strike force appeared in the system without warning. They descended like a black tide, their dreadnoughts blotting out Valera 9's twin suns. Communications from the colony were punctuated by static, followed by screams. Orbital bombardments reduced cities to molten skeletons. The atmosphere itself seemed to scream as bombs ripped through it. When the surviving transmissions were intercepted, they were brief, almost mundane in tone. A child's voice trembling. They came for the mines, for the water, for everything. A mother's, run, hide, save each other. If you can... And then, nothing. Silence. Absolute silence. The Scar fleet lingered only long enough to confirm their triumph. With casual cruelty, they fired upon evacuation ships, picking off convoys with precision. To them it was sport. To them, humanity was a puzzle to be solved with force and contempt. Mocking the defenseless. Days later, the galaxy saw the Scar in full celebration. Hollow broadcasts of their triumph played across allied worlds. Their warlords feasted while pointing at images of charred human settlements. Every public address dripped with arrogance. Earth will not interfere, boasted High Admiral Zalthar, his voice a serrated echo across comm channels. A species so confined, so polite, so civil. They will not rise. Let them stew in fear. Let them whisper prayers to empty skies. On the galactic forums, analysts laughed at the humans' supposed helplessness. Earth was a museum, a planet of diplomacy and negotiation, incapable of sustaining war across the stars. Their militaries were rumored to be bureaucratic, their fleets few, their resolve soft. The Scar labeled humanity a cautionary tale for any who might consider independence. Their arrogance radiated like radiation, infecting every sector. Mockery was their weapon. The galaxy watched, amused, as they sharpened their claws against a species that seemed, for the first time, entirely within their grasp. The silence that preceded the storm, and then, nothing happened. Months passed. Years even. The Scar celebrated anniversaries of their conquest. Certain Earth was content to linger in fear. But the humans did not forget. They did not cry. They did not surrender. They prepared. From the ashes of destroyed colonies and decimated fleets, humanity forged something new. Fleets that carried storms in their bones. Ships were rebuilt from broken hulls, retooled with weapons that could rend moons and crack stars. Crews were forged in silence, trained in shadows, their faces unreadable, their purpose singular. Comms across the galaxy began to carry fragments of warnings, enigmatic and cold. We return. We are coming. We are the storm you dismissed. No threats were shouted. No fleets paraded. The galaxy did not understand. Earth did not need to announce itself. Its patience was the weapon. Its vengeance, inevitable. The Scar, confident and careless, ignored the signs. They treated the silence as impotence, their arrogance blinding them to the gathering tide. Return of the forgotten, then, like a wound long left to fester suddenly reopening, humanity returned. The first signs were minor, isolated skirmishes where human strike crafts appeared from nowhere, their hulls scarred and smoking, their weapons leaving devastation in their wake. Scar outposts on remote moons were obliterated without warning, entire garrisons erased in a single night. It was not chaos yet. It was a warning, a whisper of the storm. Human vessels, patched and battered, carried with them energy that pulsed like rage itself. Lightning arcs licked the void between ships, and plasma cannons tore through armor as if the laws of physics themselves bent to human will. The galaxy began to speak in hushed tones. The humans, it seemed, were no longer fragile. Their vengeance had shape, their patience had honed them into instruments of precision, and the first strike was only a taste. The Scar fleets, accustomed to easy victories, moved to intercept. They were met with silence at first, then with fire. Not polite volleys or measured attacks, but overwhelming, unrelenting annihilation. Ships that had once laughed at humanity now burned. Entire squadrons vanished, leaving only streaks of scorched metal and fear. The storm unleashed. The human armada was not an army. It was a cataclysm. Broken vessels, rebuilt into monstrous dreadnoughts, moved as one. Where humans went, darkness followed. Not merely the absence of light, but the absence of hope. Weapons that drew on principles unknown to the galaxy tore through shields, rupturing the vacuum of space itself. Comms channels across Sakaar space were flooded with warnings that were neither pleas nor threats, but cold declarations of certainty. You will not survive this night. You cannot survive us. Planets that had once welcomed Sakaar dominion were erased in hours. Cities, moon bases, mining colonies, all reduced to nothing more than dust drifting across space. It was meticulous. It was surgical. And yet, it was overwhelming. Where human troops landed, the Sakaar were scattered as if the ground itself rejected their presence. Human soldiers moved like shadows, silent and inexorable. Even the most disciplined Sakaar units found themselves outmaneuvered, outwitted, outlasted. Each engagement was a lesson. Underestimate humanity, and you perish. The galaxy watched as fleets larger than solar systems emerged from nowhere, their numbers obscured by the void. Human vessels carried the scars of old battles, but those scars were badges of endurance, symbols of survival. The storm had come, carried not in flawless ships, but in vessels that bore history, memory, and fury, retribution. Without mercy, the Sakaar leaders attempted to rally, to regroup, to negotiate, but the humans did not negotiate. Their response was absolute. Entire command centers vaporized, their holographic archives reduced to ash. Worlds that had supplied the Sakaar armadas found themselves targets next. Every calculated move by the invaders was anticipated, countered, and obliterated. The humans did not merely fight, they punished. Each strike was not aimed at victory alone, but at remembrance. They returned to Sakaar homeworlds, dragging centuries of insult and cruelty across the stars. Where once the Sakaar had laughed at human helplessness, now their cries filled the void, hollow, desperate, and ignored. The galaxy began to whisper, "They are not a people to be tested." Entire species, long allied with the Sakaar, reconsidered their positions. Fear spread faster than news of conquest. Caution replaced hubris. Humanity had become a force of reckoning, a species whose silence had been their weapon, whose patience had been their armor, whose fury was now unstoppable. The aftermath of the storm, and then, as suddenly as they had struck, humanity retreated. Their fleets, scarred and battered, drifted back toward Earth. Systems burned, suns dimmed, and the remnants of Sakaar power lay in ruins. Not a single human voice had shouted victory. No celebration echoed through the void. Theirs was the silence of inevitability, the quiet of storms that leave nothing but ruin in their wake. The survivors, scattered and broken, whispered the same words in fear and awe. Never provoke Earth again. In every corner of the galaxy, beings understood at last. The humans they had dismissed, the species they had mocked, had returned carrying storms in broken vessels. Each ship was a testament to endurance, each strike a message written in fire and blood. Earth's patience had been infinite, but so too was its vengeance. And somewhere, in the cold and quiet of the stars, the Sakaar mourned the arrogance that had doomed them. Their empires, their fleets, their pride, nothing remained. Only the shadow of humanity's wrath lingered. A warning burned into the void itself. Forget not the humans. Forget not the storms they bring. Epilogue. Silence that speaks in the years that followed. No being dared approach the remnants of Sakaar space without thought, without fear, without reverence. Whole fleets paused at the edge of known systems, sensing the invisible eyes of Earth, measuring the patience that had once been mistaken for inaction. The story of forgotten humans returning was told not as a legend, but as a law written in trembling hearts. And somewhere in the depths of space, the battered vessels that had returned to Earth waited, ever ready, silent, patient, carrying the promise of retribution into eternity. For the galaxy had learned a simple truth. When humanity is forgotten, when it is underestimated, it does not respond. It returns carrying storms in broken vessels.